Hey everyone, this is Leanne from Of Love and Shiplap and the founder of Sublimation Graphics and Tutorials on Facebook and YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss out on any of our new tutorials. Tonight's tutorial is on how to use the stained glass creator from the Artifex Forge. Now this is a fun brushes and styles pack that allows you to create cool stained glass looks from your different layers that you might create within Affinity Designer. So he's got some examples here so you can see all these different textures that are included and different styles and even just some different ideas. The Artifex Forge is one of my favorite places to find brushes and assets and other items for Affinity Designer. You can go ahead and browse the collection here. You'll find this link in the video description, and I'm sure you'll find more than a few things that you might want to buy. I do recommend waiting for there to be a sale. Black Friday is always a really good one. That's usually when I buy things, unless I just absolutely need to have something right now. Also, be sure to click on that freebie section and sign up for the newsletter to get access to all of these great freebies. The outline brushes that are here are actually one of my absolute favorites, and they are free, which is fantastic. And then, there are some different other assets, shapes, different types of brushes, things of that nature that you can take advantage of for completely free just for signing up for the newsletter. Once you have your zip file downloaded and extracted, you're ready to get started. We're going to be working in Affinity Designer on a Windows computer today. If you are using the Mac version, it should look more or less the same. There are some slight differences. Keep in mind that my layout is set for what I have set it to, so yours may look a little bit different. Most of these panels are likely to be somewhere over in your right sidebar. If you enjoy this tutorial tonight on Affinity Designer, don't forget to check out the Affinity Designer Digital Graphic Design Masterclass. That is linked in the video description as well. It is a 100 video hour masterclass course. Learn at your own pace, on your own schedule, completely built for beginners. It teaches you everything from understanding how to design for sublimation and what all of those design terms mean, to how to use all of the tools and features of this software, and of course, how to create everything from clip art elements to digital completed digital designs, and even how to go about selling and marketing your own products. This course includes a bunch of interactive challenges with chances to win prizes, including one big prize for all those who have completed the course and shared. You can use the code SUBTHAT to save $30 on this masterclass off of its full price of $129.99. So that $30 brings it down to just under $100 for you. And again, this course is built for beginners, so you don't need to know anything to start taking that course. I highly recommend it if you really want to know how to get fluid in operating this software. Let's go ahead and get started by opening up a new document. I'm going to come to File and New, and tonight I'm just going to use the skinny Tumbler preset size that I have. You can add any presets into your software by setting all of your settings over here in the document setup panel and then clicking on that little plus sign. It will add it, and then you can right click on it to change the name. I have a skinny Tumbler 1 preset because I do actually make quite a few Tumbler designs, and my average width size for a skinny tumbler, a 20-ounce tumbler that is 9.25 inches wide by 8.15 inches high. This is just a general size. It works really well, and it's easy to trim that little bit off as necessary whenever we have a tumbler that is a little bit smaller, because yes, all tumblers can vary up to 1/4 of an inch in height or diameter. So before you print and press, always make sure that you measure. For sublimation, we want to make sure that our color format is set to RGB/8 and our color profile is set to sRGB IEC 61966-2.1. This is the most current color format for RGB/8, although some individuals with Mac computers do benefit from using the older profile, which is Adobe RGB 1998, that is in here too. So that is the older profile, and for whatever reason, individuals with Macs tend to have some issues with color correction using this profile. So both are adequate, both are good choices. Just keep in mind that this sRGB IEC is actually the more current one and is truly the better option for sublimation as long as you're not facing issues with your color output. Also remember that color profile is not the same as ICC profile. If your ink company has provided you with an ICC profile, that is taken care of in your document settings or in your print settings, has nothing to do with your document setup. Two completely different things, and you need to refer to your ink seller to get the full breakdown of how to use that. Document settings are universal. Print settings are not. Print settings are dictated based on your printer and ink. Once you have your document set up, go ahead and click Create. Now, the first thing you need to do is install your brushes and styles, and you can do that by simply opening up those files. Let's go to mine. And looking at what's included. So you can see here we have styles part 1, and each of these has the extension AF styles. You will notice that any Affinity files are always going to have the extension with the name of the panel that they belong in. So it could be AF assets, AF brushes, AF styles, etc. To install any of these, you'll come to the associated panel. So in this case, the styles panel. You click on it and then select the panel menu icon from the top right corner and choose Import Styles category. Your File Explorer will open, you will select it, and it will be then part of this drop down. I have already added all of those styles as you can see them here. The same will go for brushes. Brushes, just go ahead and click that panel menu icon and choose Import Brushes, and then you will have them there. Pretty straightforward to install anything into your software. And if you do have like the iPad version and the desktop version, you do need to install it in both places. It does not automatically sync. If you cannot find a panel, come to View, Studio, and make sure that that panel has a check mark next to it. If it has a check mark, it is somewhere on your document space. If you cannot find it, choose Reset Studio. Always also double check that Hide Studio is not checked. If Hide Studio is checked, you won't see any of this. And same for that Show Left and Right Studio. If these are deselected, it's going to hide some of your sidebars. So just little things to keep an eye out for, as they do come up every so often as an issue for people who are fairly new to Affinity Designer. Don't let it cause you panic. Just go to that View Studio and check for whatever you need here. Styles work by being able to be applied to any type of vector layer that we create. So that's going to be any shape. It can be text. It can also even be an SVG file if you have imported the layers into here. So several different ways which you can use styles, and they're just a quick and easy way to add a certain type of pattern or texture to your artwork. So I'm thinking of an idea today, maybe just working with a bee. I think that'll kind of be quick and easy to put together so that this tutorial doesn't end up being too long. So we're going to go ahead and get started by selecting one of our shape tools. Select your rectangle tool from your tools panel. Now, just to show you how this works, you will click and drag to create the size that you would like for your whatever texture it is, rectangle. If you want to do triangle, smaller shapes, it doesn't really matter. Click and drag to start, and then to apply a style, come to Styles and simply click on it. And you will see that it is applied to your shape which you have created. Now what I'm going to do is create a rectangle border at the top and bottom, and then just like an overall background that I can build on top of. Keep in mind that creating designs is always about combining and building layers. So when you approach it that way, it makes it just a little bit easier to navigate whatever it is that you might be coming up with in your mind. So I'm going to start by creating a whole filled background here. And I am going to go with my clouded marble glass, and I think I'll just use that green that we just had. Now, the reason why I'm doing this nice and big instead of a small section is because for some of these textures, when they are smaller, they're going to look like this. They're just not going to look as nice. So it makes a lot more sense to do a bigger layer so I can get that stained glass texture that I'm looking for. And this is the clouded marble one. There's also cathedral glass, dichoric glass, marbled, vintage, water glass. You've got a few different options of styles, and they all look a little bit different and can give you different appearances as a result. Let me go back to that one that I am using. We're doing the clouded marble. There we go. All right, now I am going to create a second layer over top of this that's going to just fill in the middle and is going to be one of these like yellow or oranges that I can build my my beehive look onto this. I might actually even choose to do maybe blue. We'll see how it looks. So once again, I'm going to take my rectangle tool. I want to deselect. So you can come to select and deselect. So I don't have anything selected here. And then click and drag to start a new one. And as I mentioned, we're just going to fill this in with one of our patterns. We've got yellow. We could do blue. I think blue might work. And you can also choose to use a different type of glass depending on what type of look you are going for. I think that I liked where we were at. There aren't too many yellows here. We are bound by the colors that you see here as well. So I will simply go back to that clouded marble and select, I think yellow is gonna work for this. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, or light blue. I'm a little indecisive about this at the moment, if I'm being honest. Let's go with the light blue. All right. So what I'm going to do is just resize this so that I am satisfied with it and make sure that this behind layer is covered across our background here. We want to make sure these are also centered, so I'm going to select both of them, come up to my alignment panel and choose align center horizontally, align center vertically, both of them set to spread, and then click apply. Now you can choose to click on any layer to name it. So this will be our background green, and this one can be our background blue. The first thing that I want to do is give a little bit of decorative detail here. Now, if you've seen any type of stained glass, you know that it can have a lot of different appearances depending on the glass it's composed of, the shapes of those glass, and so on. What's cool about making this your own is that you can really make it look however you want. There is absolutely no right or wrong way to do any of this. So I am going to start with my rectangle tool, and I am just going to create maybe 5 little like brick outlines to go across the top. So that's going to make them about 1.85 inches wide each. So I'm going to start up in that top corner. And I'm going to click and drag to stretch one out. Now, I want to make sure that there's no fill on this. We don't want this filled. We're just doing our styles. I'm sorry, we're just doing this over top of our current styles layer. So I'm going to come down this transform panel first, and where it says width, I'm going to change that to 1.85 because that's going to be 1/5 of my space all the way across. Then on my color panel, I can click on the outline circle, make sure it's set to black. I mean, it can be any color you want, but I'm going to set mine to black. And then come to my stroke panel and choose the paintbrush here. That's textured line style. And then select that brushes tab, and I'm going to use those brushes that come with this. So you can see it's added that outline here, and then we can use this width option to adjust that thickness so that it is more of what we want. So I'm just going to zoom in so this will be a little bit easier to see. And next I'll just get this lined up nicely, deselect to see if we need to adjust it a little bit more. Also, if we need to increase that stroke width. So again, we're just doing that in our stroke panel. And I think that's pretty good. So next I'm going to right click on that and select duplicate or Control Command J and simply drag that out and line it up right over top of the current one. Get it right in there where it needs to be. And then duplicate that all the way across. So if you do not select off of it, you're able to just right click and duplicate and it's going to repeat your previous actions. If you do select off of it, you'll have to manually move them. Now I always like to select all of those layers, which you can do by clicking and dragging, come to alignment and make sure that these are aligned vertically at the top, and then click apply. This just helps make sure we have them all together. Now I do have a little bit of a line right here because of the placement, so I'm going to select all of those and just tap them down with my arrow key a little bit on my keyboard. You can also then group these together by right click and selecting group, and then you can duplicate and move it all the way to the bottom. And once again, come to that alignment panel, and we're going to make sure it's aligned center across the horizontal axis and click apply. So now we've created just an outline over top of our background area, and I do see a little bit of a line there that I need to adjust. So let's just select that one and nudge it up a little bit. You can readjust anything that you need to. Maybe you need to make this rectangle a little bit taller. Whatever it is, just go ahead and make those adjustments. Look for those small details as they do matter. Now you can click on these as well and rename them. So this will be our top pane outline, bottom pane outline. Next, I'm thinking I want to create a series of honeycombs on this section here. I don't really want to fill the whole background, but I would like some honeycombs to just overlay this and, you know, give our bee a place to go. So we can come to our shape tool, click on that little white corner that you see there, and you'll have access to other shapes, one of which is the polygon tool. Click on that and click and drag to begin to add it to your document. Next, come up to sides, and because I want to make a honeycomb, I'm going to give this 6 sides. I believe 6 sides is appropriate for a honeycomb. And then I'm going to come to my transform panel, and let's try and get this a bit more even. There we go. 6 sides definitely makes that a little bit more even. All right, and we come down here to that transform panel and just match our width and height. Now, there's no exact measurements for this. You basically want to round up or down based on the size that you adjusted it to. So when I look at this, it looks about the size that I want it to be. So I'm just going to basically split the difference between these, and I'm going to go with 1.25 for my height and 1.25 for my width. And now I've got my little honeycomb shape here. It's a little hard to see, so let's fill it in. We're going to come to that styles panel, and now we're looking for sort of a yellow. I don't know if that's the one that I want. Let's look at some of these other glasses. Okay, I think this cord glass is a good option for this. I also need to add an outline, so let's come to the color panel, select that open circle. I'm going to keep it at black. It is there by default. And then come down to the stroke panel, choose that paintbrush that shows textured line style. Come to my brushes panel, and under those leading brushes that were part of the stained glass creator kit from the Artifex Forge, I'm going to apply one and then simply adjust my stroke to about where I would like it. Now I can go ahead and start lining this up along the edge, deciding how I want to tile these. Now, I do recommend at this point converting this to curves because that's going to get rid of that excess boundary box that you see on your shape. So simply select that convert to curves option right up there. You don't have to do this with every shape, but some of the ones that are multi-sided tend to have a little bit too much dead space around their edges. So this just helps alleviate that and give you the results that you want. Now you can use that little anchor at the top to rotate and modify how everything is falling dependent on what you would like. So I am going to rotate that just like this, and then I will right click and duplicate and pretty much just drag them out in place to where I would like them. I'm going to use my arrow key to sort of refine things. And I'm going to build out a honeycomb. Now don't worry if you go off of your document, it doesn't really matter because it's not going to be visible. You currently can't see anything off of my document, and that is because when I go to view and view mode, clip to canvas is checked. If you deselect that, you can see off of your document. Completely user preference. I go back and forth depending on what I am creating. So let's add some more of these. And I'm literally just lining them up. There's nothing to it, honestly. It's completely just eyeballing it. I don't currently have my snapping guides activated because for something like this, it's a little bit easier to get everything overlapping the way I want it because I want those seams to overlap by doing it manually. Your snapping icons are activated by that magnet right there. All right, let's just get some more of these in, just sort of build this out in a fun way. That one's good there. I think I can actually take these three. You hold down your shift key as you select them, it'll select each one. And then I can just duplicate those and bring them out and line them up. Perfect, perfect. And I'm thinking I'll kind of carry it up into this part of the glass. I also might want to add a few more down in here. So let's select that one and I'm going to duplicate it and I'm going to bring it down. Now, you can see that we are going over that green area and that's not specifically what I want. I just want to fill this space. Don't worry about it just yet. We're going to clip our whole group in when we are done, but right now we're just lining things up. So this is going to fill in that little bit of space right there, and I can just continue to add on to this, create just a fun idea here. As I said, I'm just going to extend these out a little bit. Kind of want them to edge towards the top. So I'm not trying to fill the whole background. You could fill the whole background. I'm just looking for just a little aesthetic I have in my mind. So again, we're just Control or Command J or right click and duplicate on a layer to duplicate it. And of course, adjust any that you see need adjustment along the way. Since we are eyeballing this, you may notice that some are overlapping in a different way than you would like them to. I find that the arrow keys on your keyboard are best for minor adjustments by far. That one's not quite lining up. Let's get it over where it belongs. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this amount of honeycomb. I'm thinking like a big B over here just to go with this whole idea. So I'm going to leave my honeycombs at this. I can always add more later. We're going to select all of these honeycombs. So you can select the one at the top and then hold down your shift key and select the one at the bottom, and it will select all of them in between. Right click and group, click on that group name and name it honeycomb. Whoops. I accidentally removed my fill, so let's try that again. Click on the name, and I'm going to name it honeycomb. Naming your layers just makes it easy for you to find things, know what you're working with, and it just does make the design process a little bit easier to navigate, especially if you make modifications later on. So I want to clip this inside of my background blue layer. We're going to drag it down and clip it inside. Now, clipping in Affinity Designer is one step. It's so easy. You want to make sure that you click on the icon, hold your cursor down, and then drag it into the layer that you want to go into. You want to make sure your cursor is touching the name of that layer and that you see that 3/4 length semi-transparent rectangle underneath it. That lets you know that you are going to clip inside. And if you look at the screen right now, like not at the layers panel, but look at the rest of the screen, you can see what's about to happen when you release that. So once you release that, it's inside, and that section down here that we wanted to clip in is clipped in without issue. We are not working with SVGs, so we have a lot of flexibility in what we can do to get our designs where we want them. We don't have to worry about intersecting shapes and all of that nonsense that is required for vinyl cutting and whatnot. We can just clip and go and not stress about it, because that is the beauty of designing for sublimation and doing PNGs for any type of project. I'm going to create my bee starting with the diamond tool. So you just go ahead and click that from our shapes and click and drag to create a diamond. Now I'm going to start by selecting that little red node that you see here for my midpoint, and I'm going to bring it down so that I can sort of round these sides. Next, I'm going to select convert to curves. And this is a little hard to see, so to make it easier, I'm just going to come to my fill circle on my color panel and make this yellow. Next, I want to come to my corner tool, which is the fourth one down here. It sort of looks like a couple of nodes with a line in between them. And this allows us to round any corner of a shape or a curve. So I'm just going to click on that node, and you just click and drag with your cursor until it's rounded how you would like. I'm going to bring mine all the way in. You can see up top here that it shows that that radius is 0.73 inch. And then you can do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to click and drag and bring it in, and I should be at 0.73 as well. I'm at 0.375. It's the same as far as I am concerned. Once you have your curves adjusted, go ahead and click on that bake appearance. This will ensure that as you resize this curve, those rounded edges will also stay. Now this is going to be sort of the body of our bee, and then I'm going to create the head. We're not getting super complicated with this because we're trying to honor the geometric style of stained glass. So I'm going to click and drag and just create an ellipse. I will come over to my transform panel and just make sure that it is perfectly round. So I'm just going to round up here and do 1.45, 1.45. I'll see if that is too big or too small. I want to center it right over top. I think that's a little bit too big. So let's lock that aspect ratio. So we just click on that little figure 8 there. And I'm going to bring it down to like 1.125. Okay, I think that that one is a little bit better. Yes, okay, we'll leave that one as it is. So let's go ahead and give these some outlines. And some texture. All right, this is the wavy seedy grass. I don't think that one's going to work. I'm just going to look through these. There aren't very many that are yellow, which is kind of a problem. And you are married to the colors that are here. Unfortunately, if you do not want to use these colors, you can always just choose to do a fill and do a solid option that way. All right, the marbled glass yellow is okay. It might be my only yellow. Oh, there's a vintage one. Okay, I think I can make this vintage one work. Yeah, why not? Okay, so next I'm going to come to the open circle of my color panel. I'm going to make sure it's set to black. I'm going to come to my stroke. I'm going to select that textured line style. I'm going to select the brushes. I'm going to apply one of my brush strokes and then adjust that stroke width. If you want them to look uniform, you can always just check and see what you did as the stroke width elsewhere. So in this case, it's 3.8, and you can then apply that as well. And then we're going to repeat the same thing on our lower section here. Since I'm already in this area, I'll just go ahead and select that textured line style from my stroke panel, add that brush stroke, and set this to 3.8. And then come to styles and apply that yellow there. Oh, it took my stroke away. Let's try that again. There we go. Now my bee obviously needs some stripes, so I am just going to do this with my pen tool. I'm going to select my pen tool, and I am going to just create a curve that goes edge to edge. For this, you want to be sure that your snapping guide is turned on. That's that little magnet icon at the top. And I'm going to click on one side of my rounded diamond and then go directly across. You wanted to make sure that snapping guide was on so that they will snap together. So when you see that green, we are snapping together. Let's try that again because I just undid it. So going all the way across. And then hold down your Control or Command to arc it downwards so that it curves a little bit like your bee. And then come to your stroke panel, select that textured line style, choose your paintbrush stroke, and then just size it down so that it's a stripe. And then of course you can repeat this across in other sections. You just want to make sure that you deselect before you start again. You can also go ahead and with that pen tool selected, select the line mode, and this will make it so every 2 nodes are going to start a new line. So we can just go 1, 2. Let's try that one again so we can make sure it's straight across there. And holding down that Control Command key, adding our stroke, and then giving it some weight. And then you can do another one. And same thing. Pretty easy to use that pen tool. So we can take those 3 stripes, select those in your layers panel. Remember to hold down your shift key, select the first one, and then select the last one that you want to group, and it will select all that are in between. Click on the icon, hold down your cursor, and clip it inside by touching your cursor to the layer that we're going into. So there's our bee body. And then that just cleans up any edges that we had there, makes it nice and easy for us. Now our bee needs some wings as well. I think that that can be easily created maybe with our teardrop tool. So let's come to that shape tool again, select our teardrop tool, and let's click and drag to bring this out. I'm going to come over to my styles, and yep, this we're under the vintage glass option. This vintage glass, it's not giving me the full name, but this white one here is the one that we're going to go with. And I will go ahead and come to that stroke panel, select my textured line style, select my brush stroke, set that line weight to the 3.8 that we already had, and then simply adjust it. Now in your layers panel, simply click and drag to bring that below your ellipse. So you should still see the full length rectangle. Make sure that your cursor is not touching the name or anything like that. Just have it on the outside of the icons and it will drop below. I'm going to adjust this just a little bit. So I want to make sure I have my tier tool selected, and this little red node that you see here, we're going to just bring it up to sort of round out that wing and just give it a nice little rounded look. Now you can resize this however you need by pulling on those corner nodes. And once you are satisfied with both the size and the angle of it and its placement, go ahead and right click on it and select duplicate, and then come up to your rotational options here, choose flip horizontal, and then you can just move it to the other side. And let's get that in place. Okay, then select both of those tiered layers and see they're not quite lined up. So what we're going to do is we're going to select alignment and we're going to choose align vertically. And we're going to make sure we are within selection bounds and then click apply. And then we're going to group that together, right click and group, and select our whole B layers, and we're going to align center, and then just have a look and see if we need to modify these a little bit. So we can bring our wings down, maybe just a little bit there. They maybe could be a little bit smaller, but because I've already sized them, I'm actually just going to increase the size of my body and my head instead. So I'm going to click and drag that corner to bring that out, and then I'll resize this. I'll just come over here and I'll try this up at 1.25 and move it up. There we go. And then you can click and drag across all of that and align center again just to get them where they need to be. Perfect, much better. And then we also just need some antennas to fill out our bumblebee here. I think maybe we could do those with the tier tool as well. So let's click and drag a really skinny one, just like that. Come to our color panel, make it black. We don't really need a stroke for this one, but you can add one just for the texture. So choose that open circle for the stroke, add black, select that textured line style from your stroke panel, come to brushes, choose the line weight, and then change that width to 3.8. And then simply rotate that and stick it into the head of your bee. Let's see. Yep, that one's pretty good. Let me zoom in a little bit so this is easier to see. We're going to right click and duplicate that. Add a second one on the other side. I'm looking for that red line that you see right there. That's from our snapping guides from that magnet icon, and that lets us know that we are right in line with each other. And then we can select both of those and drag them in our layers panel so that they are below our ellipse. That's our head. And if you want to name all of these, you can do that as well. Just click on the name of the layer and rename it. I almost put antler there. Okay. And then you can select the head layer, hold down your shift key, select your body layer so that everything is selected in between, right click and group, and then just click on that to name this bee. Now we can go ahead and place our bee on here. And this is a pretty big bee, so you may want to shrink him down. I'm going to come right down to my width or my transform panel, enter my width, and let's try what happens when I switch him down to a 3. All right, I think that 3 is definitely a little bit better. Also make sure that if you're doing any major resizing that you check this scale with object option so that your lines will actually resize accordingly. If you're making a small size adjustment, you probably won't notice it, but if you plan on going really small or really big, then you definitely will notice it. All right, let's figure out how we want to place our bee. I think, I like this. I'm thinking what we can do is add like a dotted line that goes across this using our line brush style that we're using. So we're going to select our pen tool. We want to make sure that we're in pen mode. And I'm just going to click and add a few nodes, nothing particular. I'm just going to scatter them around and make sure that my ending one is at the tail of my bee. I'm then going to select the dashed line style and increase that weight so that I can see it. Oh, you can't apply your textured line style there. And then come down to where it says dash, and I'm going to add in some space. So the way that this works is the first one is going to be the length, the second one is going to be the space in between. So if I do 2 and 2, I'm getting this different result. We can come to where it says cap and see how it's rounded. Well, we can make it square like that so it fits better with our aesthetic here for our stained glass. And then I am going to hold down that control or command key and just adjust this so that it has a bit of a curve to it and doesn't look quite so straight. You can also pull those little handles like that and click and drag to adjust any of your nodes. So this is just how you adjust any type of line. And just like that, we've created a little dotted line following our B. Now, as for my background, I think it needs a little bit something more. I'm thinking perhaps a cloud or two. So I'm going to come to my shape tools and I'm going to choose my cloud tool. And then I'm going to click and drag to create a cloud. So it currently shows 12 bubbles. Let's try adding 5. And let's add the same effects that we've been adding. So we're going to choose the textured line style from our stroke panel. We're going to select the brush type that we like in our brushes from the Artifex Forge for the stained glass creator. We are going to adjust the weight to that 3.8 that we've been using. And then we're going to click on styles and we'll add a fill. I'm of course going to do this white one. I didn't see too many white ones. That was a little dark. I'm thinking that we are very limited on some of the colors. So yeah, I'm going to keep with that vintage glass white. And now I'm just going to position a few of these. Remember that we have to do our stroke afterwards. Sorry about that. And then we can right click and duplicate and maybe add another one elsewhere. You can sort of add it wherever you would like in this, and you can choose to increase the bubbles, stretch it out, whatever you want to do. No, 7 is too many in my opinion. So I'm going to stick with 5. Maybe I'll adjust this inner radius to bring it in a little bit more. I like that. So I'm using this inner radius in my context toolbar just to bring it in. Now, my background here still needs just a little bit of something else. It needs some kind of lines to really break up the monotony of this blue. Stained glass is, of course, always in fragments, so we don't want to just have one solid section. So for this, really the sky is the limit. I would recommend maybe just taking your pen tool and creating whatever kinds of geometric lines you want to create. So I'm going to select, just enter a node one place and then end it in another place. I want to make sure that I have my textured line style selected and this line that we've been using. I want to make sure that my weight is set to the weight that we've been using as well. My width, sorry, which is 3.8. And I want to click and drag and bring this down and into my background blue below my honeycomb. So this is where I am going to apply them. And you can deselect off of that and then just start again. It's probably easier to use line mode for this just to make it more fluid. So again, I'm just going to click and click. I'm not choosing any specific path. I'm just adding, however I see it. So I'm going to add that textured line style, choose my brush type, change this to 3.8 and click and drag to bring that into my background blue. Now, once you've selected that line mode that lets you keep making new strokes, they should all add in the same spot unless you move out of there. So again, they are adding in there. We're just going to add that stroke that we want. And you can continue to go around. So textured line style, add the stroke that we're using. We're going to keep using that same width that we've decided. And this is just a width I decided based on, what was looking best. You want to make sure that you're hitting every single line. So see how there's a yellow highlight when we hit that line? That's letting us know that we're actually landing our node on that line. That's what we want. It's going to give us that more fluid look. We don't have to worry about adjusting anything, changing anything, just, you know, creating our awesome artwork. So I'm going to start down here. We've got a red line there, and I'm going to go in this direction. Same thing, just keep repeating those same steps. Apply your stroke, and let's see, where else could we put one? Probably right here for sure, all the way across there. And thinking I'm going to start right in here, maybe go somewhere in here. You really just kind of got to use your imagination, and if you absolutely hate a line that you create, just delete it. There's literally no right or wrong way to do this. So as you can see, this particular asset set is pretty easy to use, and it's actually a lot of fun. You can create so many cool ideas with the Artifex Forge stained glass creator. This is a very simple, quick and easy one. Just trying to give you guys a good frame of reference for how to use it. It is truly nothing more than applying those strokes to your different curve layers. Remember, these do have to be curve layers. And then applying the different stained glass fills to the actual layers themselves, and adding in your accent lines. So I'm just going to add in a few more here and then decide if there's any other changes that I want to make, anything that we need to look for. Notice how I am really just trying to make this not perfectly symmetrical anywhere. I'm just adding in lines anywhere to break up my background. No right or wrong way of doing it. Like I said, go with your own flow. Give it a try. Try different ideas. I could have done a whole honeycomb background if I wanted to. I just chose not to. Okay, I think maybe just one more down in here. Okay, so I'm going to click off and see. I don't necessarily think I need to dissect anything else, but I'm actually deciding I do not like this curve here, so I'm going to get rid of it. That's the joys of vector artwork, is that you can really make any changes that you want along the way. So much easier to delete out these little curve layers. I'm going to add in just a few more here. And maybe one that kind of goes through to that one. All right, now let's see where we're at. Something about that line is not quite right. There we go. Okay, so now from here, you can just look and see if there's anything you want to do. Do you want to change your placement of your bee, your size of your bee? Do you want to add some more honeycombs? You can just right click and duplicate those and add them out. And again, using that arrow key to get them into place is super beneficial. I think I might want to add just like one or two more of those. Let's get that one in place. Okay. And that's it. It's very easy to use and apply styles. Styles are really cool because they are preset textures, patterns, lines, etc. And they can be so different for so many things. The Artifex Forge has another one that I really like. I haven't fully installed it. It's called Stitchcraft, and it's a bunch of different textures of fabric. So that's another really cool idea that you can use when you are creating different types of designs. So as I mentioned, this is just like a super simplistic idea of how to use your stained glass creator. I honestly will probably play with this particular idea and really refine it a lot more until I am satisfied with it. But I wanted you guys to see how to use it. So create your shapes, whether they are with your pen tool or use your shape tool, and then apply those styles and add the brush stroke as a textured line style under that stroke panel. That's really it. Layer it up as much as you want. And when you are ready, don't forget to go to File and Save As so that you can actually save your working file. When you go to File and Save As, it is going to actually save this file so you can come back and make edits. So I can name this Stained Glass B Tumbler. And this is the file that you will open anytime you want to make edits or modifications or keep working on a project. So that's File and Save As. And then when you're ready to export this, go to File and Export, select that PNG option and choose Export, and you can go ahead and export that. You can, of course, name your files whatever you want. I'm just naming them what I normally name them. So just another easy tutorial on how to use some of the many amazing features that are part of Affinity Designer. Don't forget to check out the Artifex Forge's website. He has so many awesome brushes, textures, styles, assets, etc. that you can use within Affinity Designer. Sign up for that newsletter and get those freebies because there are multiple of them, and that is just an awesome incentive to sign up for the newsletter. And don't forget to sign up for the Affinity Designer Digital Graphic Design Masterclass if you are looking to learn anything and everything there is to know about this software and really become a master at navigating it without fumbling. Check out our other tutorials on our YouTube channel, and of course, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great rest of your evening.